Hey everyone, quick cosmic alarm clock podcast, episode, video, whatever this ends up being that wants to come through. I've already recorded an episode this weekend. I may or may not drop it. And I am feeling the need to call on here just to give you a quick update. This episode is unusual, and that typically, as you know, you've heard from me around full moons being the natural cosmic alarm clock. There's the cosmic alarm clock of the cosmos, which is why people are up, and that is usually Uranus transits, Uranus being very powerful in the sky, or a full moon. And in our personal lives, cosmic alarm clocks are typically the outer planet transits, often around midlife, which is what the term midlife crisis comes from, that fundamentally change our path and change our career trajectory, our life trajectory, and are a wake-up call for what is not working in life. So I have already recorded an episode, and I'll drop this likely on September 4th when we're still in the energy of the Virgo new moon. Very, very powerful new moon cycle that I already went into in the second part of this episode that kicks off eclipse season. I talk in depth about eclipse season, why it's powerful this year more so than others. And as I am communicating this, Mercury is just starting to speed up. It won't really speed up till this weekend, the 6th. It leaves shadow on the 12th. And Mercury is the ruling planet of Virgo and its home sign of domicile. You know what I'm saying? Mercury is at home and in its exaltation in Virgo, the only time that ever happens in astrology. So it's extra, extra powerful. I was born with Mercury retrograde in Virgo natally, and this is the most powerful Mercury retrograde I can remember. A lot of people are saying that. And I think with so much happening, Uranus stationed retrograde on September 1st. We had meteorological fall start. We had Pluto entering the last degree of Capricorn. It's going to hold on like claws until it goes into Aquarius on November 19th. And I talk all about that this episode. But one quick thing that I didn't mention in that episode I want to bring in here. Oh, Kali's got to show up with the fire alarm. Here we go. She always shows up when I record these episodes. So the one thing I didn't mention in any of the other stuff that I had done, I apologize about this, but it's always on time, cosmic time, is that this Mercury retrograde was especially powerful because it was squaring Uranus 3 times. It squared Uranus at the Capricorn new moon. It squared Uranus at the Aquarius new moon. And it is squaring Uranus now for the last time, and it will move on. So right now, Uranus is 27 degrees of Taurus, but it's in the backwards motion. And Mercury is in forwards motion at 23 degrees of Leo at the time of this recording. And as you know, Mercury is a lower octave of Uranus. Uranus is the higher mind, the downloads, the cosmic time, the cosmic alarm clock owner, the alien, the Uranian, the unseen, the weirdo. And Mercury is how we pay our bills, put shit in the parking meter. I'm Mercury in Virgo, so this is what comes up for me: the to-do list, the oh shit, I got a doctor's appointment, the oh I got to go to take a shower, whatever. That's Mercury on our, it's how we bring things down to earth. So this last and final square is relevant just because Mercury, these are the fixed signs, and it's in Leo and Taurus. And if you know about Leo and Taurus, this is a combination of creativity and being the co-creator of your life, and law of attraction, and love and abundance, and creativity and color and passion, whatever Leo means to you. Leo means something specific for me. When I think about what brings me joy, I'm going to have a list. And when you think about what brings you joy, you're going to have a list. When I think what being a creator means to me, I have my idea of what Leo means, and Leo is going to feel differently to you. Taurus is the same thing. What does abundance look like to you? What does pleasure in the body look like to you? What does a ideal home look like to you? What is comfort and security look like to you? Some people I know, they don't feel secure unless there's $100,000 in the bank. Other people feel secure when there's $5 in their checking account and they know they can pay the bills that month. Neither one is right or wrong, but what does security look like to you? What does home look like to you? Remember that Cancer is the sign that is the home sign of the moon, and the moon sign of exaltation is Taurus. Cancer is the monthly cycles, the monthly cycles, the menstrual cycle, and Taurus are the cycles of the seasons and of life. And this is all relevant to what I want to share with you, this additional piece that didn't come through. that I'm going to add on to the existing thing I talked about with eclipse season. And so this is an unusual episode. I don't normally come on here and drop stuff like this. I explained why I am talking about things that are not as collective. And I actually changed the description of the podcast of the YouTube channel last night to say, it used to say a wake up call for the collective, and it now says spiritual alchemy for the collective. I have personal reasons for that. That was the original YouTube channel I started. It was called Cosmic Psyche. It started on December 1st of 2021. And the tagline was spiritual alchemy for the collective. It was Cosmic Psyche, and it was called spiritual alchemy for the collective. And there are reasons why my life changed on that day, and a lot changed on that day. And I'll just leave it at that. It's a little bit too personal for a collective podcast, but it's come back in its own form. And I felt the need to do that right when Uranus was stationing. And I felt the need to create this YouTube channel right when Uranus was direct. I'm in a Uranus transit, and I'm a Uranian, so this is relevant to me specifically. And then afterwards, Uranus is now kind of going backwards, and we're kind of returning to planet reality. And I'm like, why do you have a second YouTube channel? You don't even have time for your first YouTube channel. So right now, all my energy is going to go into the Aligned Alchemist, which is my podcast for spiritual entrepreneurs and leaders and sacral beings, meaning you're a manifesting generator or a generator. Obviously, everybody's welcome. And right now, the podcast is a combination of mindset, human design, and business. And that's going to be all my attention focus for the fall. And I'm explaining all this to you for a reason. So why am I starting a second channel, especially for something as random as outer planet activations? Now, yes, I've explained to you on other episodes that we're having a fuck ton of societal activity rapidly. Pluto changing signs. Pluto moving to Aquarius, game-changing event. First time this happens since 1700s. You already know, right? Nodes switching. Uranus moving into Gemini. Jupiter moving into its home sign of Cancer, a sign of occultation of Cancer. Neptune moving into Aries. Saturn moving to Aries, which, as you know, is most relevant because Saturns are the structures of society and really what represents the boundaries in our day-to-day reality. And then Neptune being like spirituality, the nodes moving into North Node being in Pisces, which is spirit, South Node being in Virgo, which is what we can analyze with our mind, and Aries being the first sign of the zodiac. So I'm kind of brushing over this because I've talked about this at length. So all of the other planets changing signs is fucking incredible within such a short amount of time. Usually, I've talked about this before, very rare. So there's no shortage of episodes for Cosmic Alarm Clock. If it was just going to be stuff like I talked about last time, which was like in my Jupiter and Gemini episodes, which if you're listening to this on the YouTube channel, my other channel, Success and Spirit, has prior podcast episodes on there. And I talked about Jupiter moving into Gemini and the historics of that and what that was like from a socioeconomic perspective. What were the technology advances, all this stuff. So you could see the patterns. Ultimately, mundane astrology's patterns and personal astrology's patterns. They're just different types of patterns. So I don't know why I'm doing it, and I'll just listen to Uranus. But right before it really started to move backwards, I changed the name of the description to spiritual alchemy for the collective, because if you're not awake at this point, you're living under a rock and you're just not going to be awake. That's just how it goes. And I'll get off this point because I came on here for a specific reason, was to tell you about the Mercury square Uranus thing for a reason, because this has to do with what's happening tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow is that Mars is entering Cancer, and Mars will not leave Cancer until April 18th. Insane. Now, Mars is our life force energy, and Cancer is our intuition and body wisdom. And I've talked about this, I believe, in a prior episode, but here's why this is coming through, is that right around meteorological fall where I live, it started to get really cool already. Now, Virgo new moon also kicked that off on September 2nd, but it's feeling very fall in New England. And typically our fall, as you know, fall officially starts on fall equinox, the 22nd this year, but this year it's coming early. And with Mars in Cancer, if you know what Cancer is about home, and Cancer is cozy, and Cancer is really going inward and the life force of us. And so with Mars entering Cancer tomorrow. It enters shadow of its retrograde period in early October. It stations retrograde in Leo on December 6th at 6 degrees of Leo. It goes forward at 17 degrees of Cancer on like February 17th, something like that, February 18th. And it leaves Cancer in late April, and then it leaves shadow May 2nd. So in my opinion, the time period that we're really in this energy is September 4th through May 3rd. Actually, September 4th through May 4th. Why? Because May 4th is when Mars hits 7 degrees of Leo. So it hits 6 degrees of Leo, which is its degree of station. It stays there one more day, and it hits 7 degrees of Leo on May 4th. So this is using my ephemeris. This is using the stuff that you're going to see all over the place. What people use. This is my paper ephemeris that I use, like an old school. That is 8 months. That is crazy. Am I right about that? That is 8 months. So the last time Mars went retrograde in Cancer was 2017. I'm not going to go too much into that because Mars is a personal planet. And so what that is going to mean for you is going to be largely dependent on your chart. And as you know, I either do macro collective stuff or I do personalized stuff. The stuff that people do in between on YouTube gets a lot of clicks. People make a lot of money. It's all bullshit. It's fake. It has nothing to do with you. So I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. And that's the message of Cosmic Alarm Clock. Listen to it if you want to. Ignore it if you don't want to. You're wasting your time if you're watching that stuff. It's all fucking made up. Astrology is precision. It's not an energy reading. So, however, there are macro energetic themes to be aware of. And what is interesting is if you think about Cancer, you think about your day-to-day environment and you think about your home, especially if you are someone who's a business owner who works from home. And Leo being creativity, it's really about the relationship between the two. And you know things about your home environment that are no longer working. You know things about your living situation that are no longer a fit for you. You know this if you're hearing this message and it's resonating. What are the changes you need to make? How can you be more creative and make more money? If you're a business owner, the life force of your business is money. Now, life force for all of us is Mars. And I'm actually going to do an episode about Mars and Cancer on The Aligned Alchemist, even though it's not a podcast about astrology, just because it's about for sacral business owners. And sacral business owners, we have a sacral defined sacral. We are 70% of the population. We are the life force of humanity. And our life force, when used correctly, can light up the world and can make magic happen. And when used incorrectly, will drain us and drain everybody around us. So Mars is in its fall in Cancer because that's patriarchy. I believe I've talked about this already. Because these are channeled, I don't know what I already say. And so Mars is in its, exaltation in Capricorn, which is like structure and business and making money and climbing the mountain, and Aries, which is taking action. And that's all really, really important. But Mars in Cancer, I have Mars in Cancer. And Mars in Cancer is very, very different energy. It is doing things intuitively. It is moving like a crab side to side. People are not going to get why you do what you do. I decided during Mercury retrograde to completely pause my podcast, which I just launched. And I will explain to people why I did it, but it probably won't be until next week, which means that I've been dark on my podcast I'll have been dark for about 6 weeks from till they hear from me. Now, it's a new podcast. I could get away with it. I haven't marketed it. I haven't even put it up on YouTube. It's in soft launch. So this was the time with Mercury retrograde for me to go, oh, wait, this is how I want to do this. And I'm changing this and that. And oh my God, all this crazy stuff that I've got to do in September has fallen on top of me. Things from the past, things I didn't deal with. Now I got to deal with it. And if I had tried to really, really go whole hog in September with this podcast, like I planned, it would have been a fucking disaster. It would have been chaos. And Mercury in retrograde is things, you can fix things. If you don't listen and you don't slow down and move forward, you can be fine. But if that whole notion of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, that is powerful, this particular Mercury retrograde. I just had so many incidents of things where I had to send government papers and things for my corporation, and little nudges every day were like, maybe I didn't have the check I needed to have, or I filled this thing out wrong, or blah, blah, blah. I ended up waiting to listen, and I didn't rush. And then I fixed that mistake. But then the next day I did this, and the next day I did this. Then the net is that it ended up working out really well. And if I just tried to rush and get it in, and say, oh, it's due today, I got to send it, I got to send it today. It's already late, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't just slow down and let the information come in. That's what Mercury retrograde is. It's letting the information come in. It's not mass chaos. It's not technology bullshit. It's not all the fucking horse manure you hear. So it's not the pop culture shit. It's just that all the information isn't in. Mercury is often associated with the Raven. And I forget the card that I have. It's part of the Deviant Tarot Moon deck. Deviant Moon Tarot deck. And obviously, tarot is not, I mean, there are different cards associated with different planets. But there is a card where a woman is about to chop something down, and there's a bird flying off in the distance with a letter in its mouth. And I believe it's a raven. And that's what I think of as Mercury retrograde. It's making hasty decisions or making choices, and the information isn't in yet. And you find out later, fuck, I would have done this differently. Now, Mercury is moving forward now, speeding up this week, but doesn't leave shadow till the 12th. So we're integrating a lot of what we've learned. I don't think major information is going to come in, although I do think information is going to come in this week because Uranus is still stationed. It does not really move backwards until this weekend, although it is technically retrograde. And, that's all the other stuff. I'm actually just going to quickly wind up the other stuff I was going to say so that I can just drop this episode and not really do any editing because I'm not feeling it. I have my Mars return this weekend. So if you don't know what Mars return is, it's when Mars returns to its natal placement in your chart. So with Mars entering Cancer tomorrow, I'm born with 2 degrees of Cancer. It's going to enter 2 degrees of Cancer on Sunday, which literally means if I was a candle, I'm at the end of my stub. And so I'm being very, very selective with my life force energy these days. And for all of us, Mars is our life force. I'm a sacral being. Mars is my life force, but I am Mars ruled. I'm Scorpio rising. So this is even more. My ruling planet is literally like about to get a new battery. Let's put it that way. So I just wanted to share the 2 things that I had already shared that I am going to drop here. Number 1 is that eclipse season, powerful eclipse season. And why is that? Because the full moon eclipse is in Pisces. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and it's a full moon eclipse. That's powerful culminations. And I firmly believe that these next 2 weeks are a time to clean up let's say the next 3 weeks. Let's say through like the full moon period. Let's say through official summer, which is through that, whatever that Sunday is, the 22nd. This is a time to clean up the fucking mess. Clean up shit in your life that is going to drain your life force energy. I am telling you, I drove around my town and everyone had stuff out on their stoop to give away. Now, obviously, a lot of people take a 4-day weekend of Labor Day. It's the end of summer. People are thinking about, but, people probably weren't doing this in line with astrology. It's just that Virgo need to clean up, to streamline, to get rid of shit that's not working, to get their Mars and Cancer shit tight, right? That's what everyone's feeling. And so when it officially becomes fall, which again, I think fall is going to be pretty intense this year. And I think it's going to be a lot of wanting to spend time indoors, and it's going to be a lot of spending time in our home, depending on what you do, and nesting. And it's really about setting your environment up to be conducive to your life force energy. We all know that's what Feng Shui comes by ultimately. I mean, I'm not a Feng Shui expert, but a lot of Feng Shui is energy in the home and energy of setting things up. And so that's true of your business environment, your business setup, and all that. And also, I just think it's very fascinating. If you were going to, I don't know if I said the dates, but I'll say it again. Mars enters Cancer September 4th. Again, we've already hit meteorological fall. It enters shadow early October, I think the first weekend of October. It really starts to slow down around Thanksgiving. It retrogrades on December 6th. It stations on February 23rd. It leaves Cancer in late April, and it leaves shadow May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, depending on your math. Let's say for shits and giggles, May 4th. Now, if you live in a place with weather, you recognize those markers I just gave you. It's kind of when things start to get nippy and cold. Then when things are cold as fuck, Thanksgiving, December is like, oh shit, winter's coming. Because you all know in a lot of places, even though winter equinox is December 20th, or winter solstice is December 21st. It starts to feel cold on December 1st. And then February, end of February is like, oh my God, we're at the end of we're almost there, right? The last bitter week. And then, late, around that time. And then April is when it starts to really get warm. And May is like, all right, it's on. We're getting the gardening supplies out. We got to go get shorts out. We're going to that. But, depending on where you live, it's still kind of chilly through April, right? It's April and rainy and blah, blah, blah. So interesting, those patterns. That's all I'll say. I'm collective logic and human design. I see patterns. That's why I do this shit. So that's something to be aware of. And the other thing is that Mars is stationing on February 23rd, but you got to remember when these planets station, they're there for a very long time. So Mars is basically sitting at I think Mars hits 20 degrees of Cancer on February 1st. And it doesn't enter 20 degrees of Cancer again until late March. So that whole period of when it's cold as fuck to when it starts to warm up, that's that stationing period. And so I wouldn't look at the exact dates because even though Mars goes retrograde on December 6th, it really slows down by early November. So something to be aware of. I think it's the correlation. Obviously, this is going to be individual to your chart, your planets, your angles, your transits. You can reach me at Sunita, SUNITA, at successandspirit.com if you want to inquire about doing a reading. I do these selectively, which is why I don't have a website up. I will probably put something up soon. I'm figuring out some stuff. Obviously, this is a limited part of what I do. And, but I don't do this because I want you to have a reading. I do this because no one's getting rich off of doing astrology readings one-off. It's because it's out of integrity for me. I'm working with an energy healer. And it's something on my shoulder, and I've done all the different things. Interestingly, shoulder is Gemini, and Mars leaves Gemini tomorrow. And when Mars was retrograde in Gemini or entered shadow, I got shoulder surgery 2 years ago. So that's just a little something to be aware of. When we leave Gemini tomorrow, we also leave that history of whatever that retrograde of 2022 was. So it's something to be aware of there. I was asking her how many sessions do I need to do in this and that? And she could charge a lot more than what she's charging. This isn't about money. I think everyone should get there, especially spiritual entrepreneurs. I don't care if that's an unpopular opinion. I don't think spiritual entrepreneurs charge enough, having come from the business world, frankly. A lot of people charge fucking bullshit for some marketing, blah, blah, blah. Don't even get me started. So, but she's like, yeah, I could sell packages, but she's like, I don't, because I don't want the person's body to think it takes 5 sessions to heal. What if they could heal in 1 session? And I was like, that is a lot of fucking integrity right there. That is a healer right there. I don't even know if I would be able to do that because that doesn't even make any sense to do one-off sessions like that. But bless her. And I agree with her. That's how I feel about astrology. That's why I offer the one-off readings and I don't talk about personalized shit because it is out of integrity for me. Saturn at the top of my chart on my midheaven line, your fixed signs are your values, and Saturn is being a leader. And I will tell you right now that astrology is either collective energies like I share here, or it is your personal chart, period. It is nothing about their horoscopes are fake. This for all signs is fake. Anything that has to do with the energy report for Virgos, it's all fucking bullshit. It means nothing. As an astrologer, if you know anything about astrology, explain to me why that has any accuracy at all, please. And I'd be willing to listen. But I'm willing to listen. Please comment on the things if you have any insight into that. But otherwise, I don't fucking want to hear it. So Mars and Gemini, I got to get that in. One last full day that Mars is in Gemini, and probably, depending on the time zone, by the time I wake up tomorrow, Mars is already in Cancer. I got to get that Mars, got to get that last Gemini words, Mars cutting through the shit and saying what needs to be said. I got to say it. So that's it. It's going to depend on you, but those are the macro energies, creativity versus home, and where is the balance there? Obviously, Mars is also like men in your life and relationships and all that. And if you're a woman, it's also like relationships. That is, obviously that's a deeper conversation with your own personal chart, because I cannot extrapolate that to everybody. But Mars is your life force. And if I was to like universalize, I'm a 5-1 in human design. We universalize. If I was to universalize Mars in Cancer, retrograding in Leo, it has to do with the relationship between Cancer themes, how you're nourishing yourself, your home environment, mother energy, all that, and creativity and joy. And all of the above. And with Mercury and Uranus squaring each other, Mercury, in Leo and Uranus in Taurus, this is also about the higher octave of Cancer, which is Taurus, which is really abundance and pleasure and body and being an artist. Because remember, it's ruled by Venus, so it's art in a different way, and beauty and abundance, and where can creativity play a role in that, and what are we doing that lights us up, that lets us live that life? So that's all I got to say about that. And then I'd said a whole bunch more, but I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to drop this in tomorrow. So eclipse season started with the Virgo new moon. It ends with the Aries full moon mid-October officially. My personal math is I bring it to the next lunation, which is the November 1st Scorpio new moon, which is powerful as fuck. If you're Indian or, understand, the Scorpio new moon is the Diwali. It's the new year. It's also Samhain, and we have Halloween. So unofficial Samhain is October 31st, and official Samhain this year is, I believe, November 2nd. So unofficial Samhain is the calendar midpoint between winter and fall, and Samhain is the official Halloween, and that's when the sun is at 15 degrees of Scorpio. And I believe this year they're all jumbled together, 31st, 1st, 2nd, powerful fucking days. And then we enter a very powerful Scorpio time. Why? Because during that Scorpio moon cycle, the modern ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, enters Aquarius. The event everyone's been waiting for fucking years. Now, I will say two things, because I think I mentioned this on the other recording. Because we enter the holidays, and because the lower octave of Pluto is Mars, which basically slows down or stops right around the time that Pluto enters Aquarius. And then we have a fucking election. We've got, we got the hangover from the election. We've got cold weather. We've got the holidays. We've got an inauguration, maybe a game-changing inauguration, a historical inauguration. Obviously, there's times for shenanigans and other crazy shit to happen, but barring all that, I don't think anything big is going to happen because Uranus is retrograde. And then January 31st, Uranus goes direct. We have a Aquarian new moon on the 28th or the 29th. The sun enters Aquarius on the 23rd of January. So this is all January I'm talking about. And the Human Design New Year is on the 23rd. So I believe that those trigger planets of the sun and the moon are really when we kick off the age of Aquarius. And I think 2025 is going to be a year to remember. Saturn enters Aries, Neptune enters Aries, Jupiter enters its home sign of exaltation, Uranus enters Gemini. The nodes switch late January on the 23rd to Pisces Virgo. This is it. And if you listen to spiritualists on YouTube, they all talk about how 2026 is going to be a year that everything changes. Sure, because Neptune will enter Aries for good. Saturn will enter Aries for good. Uranus will enter Gemini for good. But it starts next year. It's already started. There is no one date. And I just share that because, yes, Pluto entering Aquarius is a big deal, but ultimately this is collective energies. So if as a society everything slows down, and again, I'm talking about the US because the 27 degrees was the degree, 27 degrees of Capricorn was the degree of the US formation. So this, Pluto leaving Capricorn is a big fucking deal for the US. Obviously the US has major implications to the financial markets and otherwise. Pluto entered, Capricorn in 2008. We know what happened, but for your chart personally, I would say this is when Pluto entered whatever house, it's switching to Aquarius. So I don't do whole sign houses. So for example, in my chart, yes, of course, in 2008, it entered Capricorn, but for me, it didn't enter the house that it's going to switch into Aquarius until like November of 2017. Very, very different timeline of my life. That's almost 9 years difference. Pluto's a slow moving planet and it goes back and forth and back and forth. So for me, I'm looking at November 25th of 2017. And that is relevant to me if I look at those dates. That makes a lot of fucking sense. And what are the energies now that are shifting when Pluto enters Aquarius? So that would be what you would want to look at as well. I think whole sign houses are stupid and lazy, and I don't think they actually make any sense. I think they make sense to bring it into a long-term transit at the end of a long motherfucking transit, like Neptune opposed all of my Virgo planets. So yes, when I look at the entire time that Neptune was in Pisces, once it enters Aries, and I look at the result of what effect it had on my Virgo planets, that's a macro story I'll tell. But that's not generally how I use astrology. That's very interesting and different use of whole signs, and very specific and very, very specific to each case. So anything else I want to share? Yeah, the Pluto, the Pisces eclipse is going to be a North Node eclipse, and it's relevant because the nodes switch to Pisces Virgo next January. So this moon cycle, we're majoring in Pisces Virgo. And it's a preview of what we're majoring in as a society, not individually. This is societal nodes next January for the next 18 months, which will take us through summer of 2026, which will take us through the major fucking changes. So this is the time, and I don't think it's a coincidence, spirituality in Pisces and collective consciousness is the North Node during this time, because we're all going to be effective collectively in a big way. And that's it. And then we have a new moon solar eclipse in Libra on the 2nd of October. And that is a South Node eclipse. Again, it's really going to depend on your chart. I don't believe in this stuff because you could have very, very powerful new beginnings happening in your chart in Libra. This is very close to my North Node. So this can't be like my personal North Node. So that gives you an example. Like this won't be a negative eclipse for me, right? But it is, if you wanted to look at it as an example for the example I just used, if you wanted to look at it as an example, you could say, okay, well, what are things from the past that are preventing you from stepping into your full power in the North Node or whatever, right? But that's the energies. I didn't plan to re-record this whole fucking episode, but that's what happened. Mars in Cancer, enjoy. Get a blanket, get some tea, upgrade your space, get rid of shit, move. If you're like, this is a fuck no, it's time to, again, you got time. Mars doesn't really slow down until early December, late December. So it doesn't retrograde until December 6th, and it doesn't hit its degree of station until December 2nd. So like if you were going to move, you're going to move. And we all know that people don't move after the 1st anyway. That's the easiest time to get a lease or something, because nobody moves December, January, and February. And again, this is Mars. So this could be a relationship. This could be business projects. This could be whatever affects your life force. This isn't just your home, but Mars in Cancer. Cancer is your home and your foundation and your root base. And so just thinking about that as you listen to this and as you integrate this message over the next couple of months. This is the last time you will hear from me until Pluto goes to Aquarius, or wherever I do my Pluto and Aquarius thing, unless some crazy shit happens. I don't think it will, because Uranus is retrograde until January 31st. So we have a little bit of respite from the freak show. And so I will see you when I see you for probably my last report of the year, which will be when boom, I'm out of it. Pluto enters Aquarius. See ya.